Today is Wednesday, August 31st, and Adventures with Purpose has put out their long-awaited video about finding Kiely Rodni. As I understand it, Kiely would have turned 17 tomorrow, September 1st. So I pray her soul is at rest and in heaven. 17 apparently was her favorite number. I want to go over all the particulars of the Adventures with Purpose video. Apparently it was published for members only, I guess late last night. As of this reporting, I guess it was published 13 hours ago, which would have been about 1 a.m. Eastern Time, Wednesday, August 31st. I watched it once before. I'm going to watch it again. I will not play their audio or their video. If you want to watch it, you can become a member of their channel. I love Adventures with Purpose. I know there's tons of controversy. We are going to talk about the controversy that has erupted at the end of this video with a Facebook post that was published attributed to Kiely's mom, Lindsay Neiman, and all the reasons I think it could be really real, despite so many people just poo-pooing it and thinking it was fake. I will tell you what the Facebook administrator has written that makes me believe it could be real. The Facebook administrator of one of Kiely's groups received the screenshot. We'll talk about that more. Let's go over Adventures with Purpose, amazing video about finding Kiely Rodni. Again, you can wait till Friday if you don't want to become a member of their channel on YouTube. If you want to watch the whole thing then for free. However, if you've been really waiting for it like I have, and you are a big supporter of Adventures with Purpose, like I am, I remember giving them a super chat way back in October of 2020 when I really started seeing the amazing work those guys do to find missing people in bodies of water. And I just became a member recently, so that is how I watched their video, and now I'm going to watch it again. I'm going to put my headphones on, I'll have closed captioning on. I like to hear exactly what people are saying. And the stuff that Adventures with Purpose has found, it sounds like some people who really believed in foul play in this case could end up being totally correct. They will speak about Kiely's CRV having battery problems. A roadside assistance guy came out and helped Kiely, and Kiely was with another unnamed man. And there was some weirdness going on there. Adventures with Purpose also speaks about some kind of brouhaha between Kiely and another unnamed female. This is the big discussion in Truckee that's blowing up the Facebook pages allegedly, and whatever type of disagreement happened between Kiely and this female caused the mass exodus of cars out of the sanctuary area. Let's start talking about all of that. Here we go. The video, members only, once again, it's dated August 31st. It speaks about Adventures with Purpose finding 16-year-old Kiely Rodni in her 2013 Honda CRV underwater in Prosser Creek Reservoir, just 300 yards from her last known location, where she attended a 300-plus person party at Prosser Creek Family Campground near Truckee, California. It says family, friends, and the entire Truckee community have been left seeking answers leading up to her disappearance in what has become one of the most extensively searched missing person cases in California state history, encompassing 18 agencies and more than 19,000 search and rescue hours. This video documents AWP team lead divers Doug Bishop and Nick Wren's detailed search for Kiely Rodni, and brings to light detailed information as well as X-factor clues given by courageous individuals that day, willing to step in and do the right thing. Because Kiely's case is currently an active, ongoing investigation with the Placer County Sheriff's Department, some individuals have been blurred and/or names have been removed to protect the integrity of the investigation. If you or another person you know has any information regarding events that took place just prior to Kiely Rodni's disappearance, please step up, do the right thing, and contact the Placer County Sheriff's Office. So they have the tip line, they have an anonymous link. It said during this search, the AWP 5-mile search strategy was a pivotal tool in helping locate Kiely. Where were they last seen? Where did they live? Where did they work? Where did they go to school? Where were they going? I believe these are the questions they ask in every case. And they explain more about what they do, how to subscribe, case notes. Kiely Rodni missing since August 16th from Truckee, California. A Caucasian female, 5 feet 7 inches tall, weight about 118 pounds, and again she was 16. And they speak about hugging the ones you love. They've gotten over 1,400 likes. Doug Bishop penned a comment to the top of the video. It says, after being requested by tens of thousands of supporters, such as yourself, and being contacted by authorities, we wanted to only come and rule all the waterways out so that resources could be focused elsewhere. With this being such a fresh case, I did not want us to come in and find her. This was very difficult but necessary. Our skill set has put us in a position of high demand. As tragic as this is, what we provide is answers. Answers that in most instances would never be provided otherwise. And because of all of you who support us, we were able to do this all across the nation. And we were able to do it free of charge for families and law enforcement agencies. So thank you to all of you who support us and make this possible. I'd also like to thank my entire team for their hard work out in the road. Nick, Josh, Carson, and Devin. My thoughts and prayers go out to the entire Rodni family as they continue to navigate through this. Please take the time to take time with your loved ones, as you never know when it could be your last time. It's heavy, and the video is heavy when you watch it. The video begins with a warning saying this episode contains disturbing content, and we hear a reporter confirming specialty search and rescue. You hear a variety of reporters coming in, overlaying information. It's very well edited. They immediately show a snippet of a man who was a roadside assistance guy who will describe Kiely asking really weird questions, and Kiely and this guy being in sort of a weird state of mind. This is going to ultimately be the tip that led them to search Boca. Boca is nearby Prosser, where Kiely was found. So it's sort of like this teaser info to show what you're going to get during this episode. They show the drop in the water. They're showing still little snippets. It's really exquisite and amazing. You'll see how these guys were able to rule out the likelihood of Kiely going into certain bodies of water just because of the undisturbed vegetation. The moment they find her and they dive down and they examine the car is really just heart-wrenching. It's heavy. You're going to see Doug Bishop. Well, when you watch it, you will see Doug Bishop exhaling sharply. They almost can't believe they have found Kiely. We'll see Nick suit up, and the fact when he confirms that it is Kiely's car, and he says to call the authorities. That part is the really unbelievable, amazing part. I like in the opening of the video, they speak about how they use sonar technology to dive down on targets, people in cars, and to bring them home. They've brought home Kiely Rodni, Dedrick Smith, Samantha Hopper, Courtney Holt, Stephanie Torres, Jedediah Hall, Tammy Goff, Ann Lee Hampton, Ethan Kazmirkek, Carrie Mae Parker, Nadine Moss, Margaret Jan Shoup Smith, Ralph Davis Brown. Adventures with Purpose has 24 cold cases solved. And no matter what you think of them, the proof is in the pudding. What they're doing is working, and they need income to do it. So it opens about Kiely last being seen August 6th. 2022. 8 Yankee Uniform Romeo 127 was her license plate, California. She was seen at this end of the summer high school party. We speak about how authorities have sent out dive teams in Prosser Creek Reservoir looking for Kiely and her vehicle, but they found no clues to lead them to Kiely's whereabouts. And police said she last spoke with her family shortly after midnight on August 6th. And her phone went off around 12:33 a.m. And the frustrations and everything law enforcement had about the 200 to 300 people at the party, and the small portion of those people came forward. So it starts out at a Best Buy, and this is where the Adventures with Purpose guys are going to talk with that roadside assistance guy who will give them tips. This must be the insider tip that led them to search Boca first. And we'll see why few people were coming forward with info. They just got out of Best Buy after picking up some supplies in Reno, Nevada. They were on their way to work the Kiely Rodni case just down the street in Truckee. This guy, Nick, he's pretty tall. He's a longtime supporter and fan of Adventures with Purpose. He is the one speaking out about servicing Kiely's car. They appreciate him. He possibly has info in regards to Kiely's case. He starts explaining a little bit what he ran into. His name is Nick, and they don't provide his last name. He is listed as a roadside service assistant. He says, I work at an emergency roadside assistance program. He said, I got a call up in Truckee, Boca, for a battery call. So that pretty much means the vehicle can't start. So I went en route up there, found the vehicle. At the time, he didn't realize it was a situation until later on. He was stopped and questioned. Adventures with Purpose said, wait a minute, you went to Boca? He said, yes, sir. Boca, not Prosser, but they're very close apparently. So this guy went to Boca. At first, when he went there, he tested it and said at first everything was working great on the vehicle. At that point, he noticed Kiely was very hesitant and skeptical on everything that was going on. She was asking him really weird questions in the sense of, how do you put on your seat belt correctly? So that is very strange in and of itself. That is very strange in the sense that Kiely has been praised as a very responsible driver, never driving drunk or anything like that, according to reports we've heard, is asking the roadside assistance guy, how do you put on your seatbelt correctly? And she asked the roadside guy how to show her how to connect it to her actual belt. She said she was there all night. She could not get her vehicle started due to the fact that now, he said, we both realized it was in neutral. How long had Kiely's vehicle been sitting in neutral? You will see, despite what others are saying or the way they are interpreting this guy Nick does not know the exact day. At least he doesn't tell Adventures with Purpose in this video. He does not know the exact day that he went to help Kiely. So we'll see. This could have been Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, either before or after she disappeared. But it does give us clues as to something being wrong. And did this lead to what happened to Kiely? Her car is in neutral. I'm assuming she must have been on a really flat area because her car didn't roll anywhere. If her car's in neutral, she couldn't start it, and she didn't realize that. Nick is going to say it looked like Kiely had been there for quite a while. She was wearing a gray sweatshirt. Nick said it was light gray. Also, there was a guy there that was with her at the time being. He was wearing a black San Francisco flat top ball cap, facing forward, brown hair sticking out a little bit on the side. It was like they were both kind of at ease, as if they either had a crazy night or crazy day, or there was something going on. I couldn't know at the time. I didn't realize what was going on. Other than that, he was a thinner built guy, the best way I can put it, with a bro tank, a white bro tank. Is a bro tank like a wife beater? I need to look that up. He had some freckles on his face. Maybe it was like acne or whatnot, but it was on both sides of his face. He was a little bit shorter than Nick, and Nick is 6'3". He's pretty tall. Nick thinks he's not sure. To be honest with you, it was either right after she disappeared or either right before she disappeared, but it was around noonish, around 11 o'clock in the morning. And then, even though Nick is saying those words, to be honest, let's get them exactly. Nick is saying, to be honest with you, it either took place, he's answering the question, right after she disappeared or right before she disappeared. And the lower thirds on the screen says, allegedly, Nick claims to have seen Kiely the day after. So they're going to try and pin down a date out of him. Hopefully, whatever roadside assistance company he works for, or I don't know if it's an entrepreneurial thing or whatever, hopefully he would have some exact records. He is going to say that there's some stuff he just can't tell them, so we know he's talked to cops about all this already. But it was around noonish, like 11 a.m. in the morning, with someone else. During that period of time, after the period, I told her I was going to leave. I keep her vehicle running for a couple of hours, obviously, to make sure everything's working good, he told Kiely. On the vehicle, charging system wise. At that point when he left, a week later is when he saw at a coffee shop that Kiely was gone. He saw the flyer, then everything spiraled out of control. He contacted the detective, tried to do everything he could, and then he saw Adventures with Purpose. So that's why they started with Boca Reservoir. Now, when it comes to AWP asking Nick, do you know who placed the call to your company? Nick says, I can't get details. So it's not that he necessarily wouldn't give it to them. I think he's not getting the details. He said, calls don't go through me. They go through a dispatch. Nick did try to call Kiely to say he was on the way. He said it went straight to voicemail, so he couldn't get through. AWP is asking, do you know if she had a phone on her at the time? She did state that her phone was dead, and so she used whoever this guy was, she used his phone. That's how she got in contact with this roadside assistance place. And they flash on the screen that the FBI confirmed Kiely's phone died at 12:33 a.m. So many questions. If we're talking about Saturday, I don't think we could be. Maybe we could be. If we're talking about Saturday morning, and if Kiely was down by the beach somewhere and she couldn't get her car out of neutral, was she really with someone Saturday morning? If she had her car in neutral, and is that why it went into the water? And where was this guy? If it's truly Saturday, and we know how Sammy and her friend said that they drove to Prosser Creek Reservoir, we know on Saturday morning Kiely's mom had awakened, saw Kiely wasn't home, called her friends. Her friends allegedly drove around Prosser Creek Reservoir looking for Kiely. If Kiely, perhaps, if she was down at the beach part on Saturday, no, so this is Boca. Yeah, we're talking about Boca. So I don't know what day this is that this guy saw Kiely. I'm going to assume it was not Saturday, because if she were at Boca on Saturday, even though it could have been, did she leave the party, go to Boca, and then come back to Prosser Creek? This begs more questions than it answers. But Nick says Kiely was asking funny questions, acting weird. They speak about Kiely's strange behavior. They talk about the crazy stuff and weird stuff they see with AWP. It was just a normal call at the time. But Nick says Kiely kept going over, how do you secure your seatbelt firmly and correctly? And when she was asking that, and the guy was on the opposite side of the car, every single time the guy would come over, Kiely would go back. One person would come over, she wouldn't stay near him, and then it would go vice versa. Or if we were at the front of the car going about the battery, she was on one side, he was on the other. They weren't close to each other. Kiely was uncomfortable and awkward for some reason. We don't know who this guy was. You would think the guy would be dealing with the guy the whole time. When they ask Nick, did Kiely seem high or something at the time? Nick says, I thought that maybe she was either hungover or just had a really rough day. She looked distressed. Nick is going to show them on the map exactly where he answered this call in Boca. Prosser and Boca look pretty close together. So Nick drops a pin at the point where he followed the road down, Stampede, and it's called Tahoe National Forest, right off 894. He kind of shows them her front end was facing 894, and he left before Kiely left. There were people far back there somewhere, but not near her. Nick just noticed perfume bottles in her car. There was a perfume bottle in the center console. That's all he recalled. He didn't recall anything on her keys or anything. Nick does have cameras. He can get potentially facial recognition on not only Kiely, of course, but the guy she was with, because they have cameras on the front and rear of their vehicles. And they do have audio as well, so it can pick up audio from inside and outside of his truck. And he knows his vehicle was facing directly towards hers for his protection. Nick apparently doesn't know the exact day that he answered this call for Kiely, but the window of time he is providing Adventures with Purpose is either Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. I don't exactly know why they can't look back in their digital records. I mean, he is going to talk about looking in some of his records, but he's answering all these calls. I don't know why he can't just go back through the video, which I hope they've already turned over to law enforcement, and get an exact timestamp with the date and time that he answered this call for Kiely. So he's saying either Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, I believe one of those. The weekends he usually covers Truckee, and that Friday he also worked in Truckee, so yeah. But if he's betting on which day it was, he would say he looked back under his GPS, under his phone where he's been. He was there both Saturday and Sunday further into Boca. I don't know. I wish, hopefully, he could pin down an exact date, because, of course, that makes all the difference. And, of course, a lot of people are jumping on Jagger once again. They're like, oh no, a San Francisco ball cap, a big flat top hat with the hair hanging down. They're already saying it must have been Jagger and she was uncomfortable with him. First of all, we don't know who the guy was, and we don't even have an exact day. If it were that Friday before she went missing, what was wrong with Kiely? Why was she so distressed? Why was she asking the proper way to buckle your seatbelt in so many times? And why was her car in neutral? I mean, I know that's happened to my friend once. We were in Chicago on the Dan Ryan, and she accidentally, while driving, kicked it into neutral. It was pretty easy, and she freaked out and pulled over on the shoulder. But sometimes we don't know when our car is in neutral. These cars are a little bit harder these days to get into neutral. But if Kiely was making a mistake like that and her attitude was off, it sounds like they were under the influence of something. If this were Friday during the day, or even if this were Saturday, and notice how he said Kiely's phone was already dead, so she couldn't charge her phone. It just sounds like a lot of odd behavior happening, and maybe it's something Kiely normally wouldn't do, but she's with a guy, she's uncomfortable if this was indeed Kiely. Her phone's not charged, her CRV's in neutral, so she's thinking the battery's dead. It sounds like there's a lot more than meets the eye here. So of course this is why they first go to Boca. This is the tip they have. So they go to Boca Reservoir. Normally they work in cold cases that haven't had any resources applied, but Kiely's case had more than 10,000 man hours. That's why AWP didn't start at Prosser, because they thought it's been well covered. They show them at Boca. They start talking about maliciousness does not deserve forgiveness. Taking the life of a 16-year-old does not deserve, it deserves zero forgiveness. So they're going to Stampede, Independence, Boca, Prosser Creek. They have a 10-mile radius. So now we know why they started at Boca, because of this tip from Nick. Normally they might have started at Prosser. Everyone wants the same outcome. They said 40 to 50 feet offshore, you can easily conceal a vehicle. Everyone has one goal. We just want to find Kiely. They found in the corner of a cove a target they can't identify. A vehicle that's not going to come up the way a vehicle would if it had been under for 10 years. They show how it could be suspicious whether you could dump a car right off of this cove. And so they're kind of going back and forth. That makes it a little bit confusing. They show Lieutenant Barnhart with the Placer County Sheriff's Office talking about how can we keep sustaining this, all these man hours, all this searching. A cell phone is ringing, and it's a little difficult because they're jumping back and forth. Nick called Doug, and he's testing to make sure they had cell service. So this is still in Boca, apparently, where Kiely couldn't start a vehicle, and they're testing that the cell service does work. They cleared the area, so they're clearing Boca. They're heading up north towards Stampede. There's a guardrail there. If a vehicle had gone over that guardrail, they would have evidence of it. They did not find anything. They knew Kiely's vehicle was not in Boca. They're hoping it's just an accident. Accidents happen, as tragic as it would be regardless. If she's no longer with us, they're saying an accident is better than somebody maliciously doing something horrible to her. You can just imagine the way that that would happen in your last moments, knowing that someone is taking your life, they're saying, versus an accident. So they're clearing Boca, then they will move to Prosser. And just the music they're playing, it's just very sad. They want it to be, if it had to be, an accident as opposed to someone else taking her life. And interspersed with this, they show video from News Nation, Lindsay, Kiely's mom, saying, "We're trying so hard. We're not giving up, Kiely. It's just," she's saying, "just hang in there, sweetie, because we're going to bring you home." It's really, really moving, and they show all their vehicles, and they just talk about the search intensifying for Kiely, police treating it as a possible abduction, and of course asking anyone who knows anything to come forward. It's a nightmare. AWP says it's a nightmare. I want to be able to clear all this water and tell the family, Doug says, that she's not here. But unfortunately, we know that's not how it's going to end up. So they went to one of the ponds behind the shopping center. They can tell it's not hardly any access for a vehicle to get into this little pond, and they could tell that it's very shallow. So these are the things they use to rule out she's probably not here. Ground is harder, tire tracks are hard to see, but you can see the tire tracks clear as day. They're just searching. They see equipment and trucks during the day, probably workers. They can see out more than 100 feet. They can see the growth and the pattern and the vegetation. They can see stuff hasn't been changed. It's so shallow. A car's not going to go that far. There's no path. There's nothing cut. You could launch a car off of there, but you're not going to hide it there. On Saturday, August 20th, they went to Donner Lake. You can see a lot of visibility. You can still see the bottom, but they are clearing Donner Lake at this point, and you will see on the drone, you can see the significant drop off. It's a big drop, and it's a big lake. They won't say what brought them to Donner Lake, according to the news lady. They are concentrating on the boat launch and the area surrounding it. So this was Saturday. They're counting 4 feet, 5 feet, 10 feet. It's going up to 22 feet, up to 42 feet, up to 50 feet. It's getting deeper and deeper. It gets deep really quickly. They are up to 105 feet in depth. They changed their scanning. They're compensating for the depth of Donner Lake, 142 feet deep. So they're doing vertical in and out patterns. It's a big lake. It's gorgeous out there. They're going to end up clearing Donner Lake and realizing in their pattern, apparently they don't see anything strange. If you are considering foul play, would you do this right across the street from the fire department? I like that they are considering all options. They're looking at, okay, in the mind of a criminal, would you get rid of a car with authorities right there? Well, only if a person is desperate, they're talking about. People do weird stuff when they're in a panic, so it is an option. Looking for a fresh car apparently is really hard to see, so that's why they were being very, very thorough. So that's why they didn't go to Prosser apparently until the next day, Sunday, August 21st, and we will go over how the notification process happened, who they called, and all that controversy. They're trying to distinguish the rocks from, is it really a vehicle? How's it still under there? Must still be rocks, a layer of them or something. And they're doing some just beautiful overhead shots. They're wondering if there were rocks, apparently it would have floated up. They talk about the buoyancy of it, 50 yards maximum. They're going one more time over by a corner, a little spot that a car could have gone off on. It doesn't have a curb. You see people out there fishing and enjoying their day, gorgeous homes, no guardrail on this road, so they're just scanning the whole lake. It says a vehicle could easily, whether it's an accident or on purpose, it drops off pretty steep, 31 feet of water out there. So this is where their experience really comes into play. The lake's clear. You can see the bottom of Donner Lake for almost 100 or 150 feet off the shoreline. And they go over only a few places where the car could have made it in there. Nick was 100% confident that Kiely's car was not in Donner Lake, and he was correct. So they methodically cleared all these 3 boat ramps and miles of shoreline, and this is where their experience comes into play, where they are able to say, no, that looks like a rock or something weird, but I don't think it's a vehicle, versus when they get to Prosser Lake and keep going over Kiely's car and thinking, is this a boat or is this her car? So Donner Lake is clear, they're packing up their stuff, they still have questions and not a ton of answers. So this is when Nick says someone has answers, and he holds up Kiely's flyer and is begging folks to come forward. Now here we are, day 2, and this is when they are going to Prosser Creek Reservoir in the Tahoe National Forest. Day 2 in their search for Kiely Rodni, they call it Ground Zero, Prosser Family Recreational Site. According to law enforcement, that was Kiely's last known location. They took that tip they deemed credible and started in a different area. Those areas were within their 10-mile radius, and they were able to rule them out, and that's what brought them back to square one, Prosser, to just clear that lake. Kiely and her family are from the local Truckee, California. They've seen Kiely's posters everywhere, and it's great to see a community come together to support this family in need. It tells you to please like and subscribe and share and watch their videos. They really appreciate everything we do for them because it does help literally find missing people. Prosser Creek Reservoir, and it looks very calm and eerie, and you see the edges and you see all the equipment, and they have overlays of news programs, how Adventures with Purpose was able to find Kiely, and they're asking why. Why were they able to find her when all of the authorities were not able to do what this small team did? And thank God Jared of Adventures with Purpose, the founder, is training new teams. The time is 10:41. We are now on Prosser Creek Reservoir. This is Kiely's last known location. According to law enforcement, they're looking for a silver Honda CRV. Helicopters have stated they could see the bottom of the reservoir. Had multiple different extreme levels of sonar used by different sonar teams in the reservoir. They're confident in what others have done. Adventures with Purpose is saying it's not to sound cocky, but if we haven't searched it, it hasn't been searched. Doug is theorizing the bottom of the reservoir is a similar color to silver. So could it have not been seen? Absolutely. So indeed, that could be why her car blended in so well. Her cell phone stopped pinging right there at 12:33 a.m. on August 6th. They're putting Doug and Nick It'll be great training for Nick, he said. Nick is being trained to be a team lead for their second team. 2 boats are better than 1, and they're utilizing Doug's ability to put Nick out in front of him so he can see what he's seeing, see what he misses, see what he catches. Great training opportunity. Like someone suggested, I read somewhere, if they could paint the bottom of vehicles a different color, it might be helpful. Placer County did advise Adventures with Purpose that the creek got down to about 55 feet. So right now they're about 45 feet reading on the radar. Now this is the big tip that really amazed me. Doug said I can't name who just sent this tip to him, but he's reading the text right there. I cannot name who did, but it says, the Truckee Facebook missing persons groups are on fire with speculation about what happened to Kiely. Thing is that some of it may not be speculation. It may be real clues as to what happened. The party, 200 plus, the fact is there was a lot of drinking and drugging. Reported fights, some disturbing behavior between Kiely and a girl named Bleep. And they bleep out and they put a black mark over his mouth so we can't know the name of the girl who Kiely had this disturbance with. Minutes before the party suddenly breaking up. And then cars started flying out of the parking lot. Something bad happened and all the kids' parents told them not to get involved. You may want to keep in mind that there's a possibility of what happened to Kiely could be more sinister, and there was a panic. So Doug says, I feel the same way. A kid goes missing after attending a party of 200 to 300 people. There's always most likely something that happened at that party. Someone knows something. Someone possibly did something. It's an accurate and fair assessment to make. Not only one person knows, but multiple people know. At this point, after hearing that, and hearing that from local people in some Truckee Facebook groups going wild with not just speculation, but what could be true. Where there's smoke, sometimes there's fire, and I could see a lot of parents panicking if their kids witness some type of altercation between Kiely and a girl, and then something so bad happened that they all jetted out of there because they didn't want to get in trouble. They didn't want to lose their college scholarships, their livelihood, what have you. This leads me to believe, there must be more to this case that meets the eye. And those folks who speculated about, I won't say the female's name, but others who have been speculating about a female potentially involved, they might end up being correct. Seeing what they found here, hearing about the rumors, hearing about that mass exodus, and now we know why the mass exodus happened. Seeing some of the odd behavior in the wake of Kiely going missing, now I'm believing, they could be right about Kiely not simply going in the water of her own accidentally, but it still could be an accident. Even though we've learned about Kiely's state of being whenever it happened, that her car was in neutral whenever she needed roadside assistance, whenever she was with this guy who apparently made her uncomfortable, no matter what happened about the altercation or whatever at the party and so many cars leaving, that still does not 100% guarantee that another person, this girl, a guy, whomever, could have been responsible for Kiely's demise, but it leaves the door open a lot more to foul play being involved now that we know all of this. And yet and still, we don't know when Kiely actually went in the water. We still don't know how, but it gives us a lot more details about what could have been her messed up state of mind, her irresponsibility as a driver, not knowing that her car was apparently in neutral at some point, if Nick is correct, and Nick, the roadside assistance guy. We have more than one Nick here, but all these things do point more towards foul play, but we still have to leave room for it was an accident. It was perhaps driving under the influence. Maybe no one else was with Kiely. But let's get to the part where they find her. It's pretty harrowing. We will see on video when you watch it which windows were actually broken. And of course they will blur some things for sensitivity's sake. So let's keep going. They're showing the Prosser Creek boat ramps, how the cars pull down right to the water. If something bad happens, you could put a car in here anywhere, they say. So they're just showing, they're on the side where the party was at the campground. If we're going to find the vehicle, they would fully expect to find it right about where they are now. So they were really concentrating. And I don't see yet a timestamp on some of this sonar stuff. It was really shallow at that point, only maybe 10 feet. So I think they're going out a little bit deeper. Nick is asking, does this lake get pretty dry at the end of the summer? Someone said it's the driest it's been in a long time, someone on the shore said. And maybe that helps them too, that it's drier. Now, this was when they find a big shadow. If they scanned it, how could they miss it? They did have dive teams. Nick said, I don't want to be the guy that says, oh, it's nothing because it doesn't look like a car. We may have something. It's hard to tell. Live scope doesn't work, so it's hard to verify. Now they're sending the coordinates to each other. They're by the other boat ramp. They're not sure of the coordinates. You can see all these geese, I think, in the water. There's lots of drive lanes down to the water. People have cookouts, get-togethers, parties, family gatherings. It's a prime location where Kiely's vehicle could have made it into the reservoir. They are really spot on right now. And the sun is shining bright on this Sunday. The boat engine is rumbling. The flags are flying behind them. The search team is asking, is that what you just saw? It's a big shadow. It doesn't make sense. It's only 10 feet of water, they think. Nick said it's probably nothing, but Doug said it's something. It's just big. It's definitely something directly under us right now. What is that, Carson? He's asking. Is that a boat? So I don't know if the yellow part, is it an SUV? Whatever it is, it has buildup on it. I don't really maybe see what they're seeing because I don't know how to read this sonar, but they're trying to figure out, is this a car or a boat? They're seeing similarities that would show buildup, and they're saying we shouldn't have buildup on this car. It's only been 2 weeks. It looked like an upside down sunken boat, possibly, Nick said. Could be a boat, but it's something though. Doug knows it's something. I believe it's a car, he says. Doug says, I have to be quiet because I don't want to alarm the entire campground right now because it's an ongoing investigation. You see people, nearby. They don't want to tip off everyone. They said, man, there's some funny imaging on this, which is indicative of a newer vehicle. There it is. See that? What is that? That's a wheel. Do you see the wheel, they're asking? I see no timestamps on this, though. Is it a wheel? Is it a boat? It looks like a wheel, man. Look at that. Look at that. That's a wheel. Yeah, that's a wheel, dude. And they know we have a wheel. So they know they've seen this many, many times over. So he's going to drop a magnet down at this point. It's tall, whatever it is. And I really hope you can go watch this. If not, you can wait until Friday, September 2nd to watch it. But it's really compelling video footage. I think law enforcement, searchers, divers, everyone can learn from watching the work they are doing right now. Got it. So he's got the magnet dropped down and attached to the car. We got a car, he's saying. And he can tell how the magnet is going to slide on the car. He's trying to pull himself directly over it so they can just dive down and know exactly where this car is located before they go suit up quietly. It's not giving a good reading, but there's a wheel. You see it, he asks. So this is a good lesson. Oh, I see the time. It was 12:13 p.m. And later we're going to see 12:16 p.m. when they turn off all their phones. He says, you guys put us in this position. We wouldn't be able to afford to do this if it wasn't for you. So at this point, they're assessing their situation. 18 different agencies, more than 19,000 man-hours have been put into it. Not a zero vehicle has been found in this reservoir. It looks just like a car. He's getting a weird reading. It looks like an SUV. It's an amazing scan that Nick scanned. It's giving him some weird readings like a new SUV would give. They need to do this as quietly as possible. And the magnet is slipping on some of the vehicle the way a newer car would. It is smooth. He said he can tell it's smooth. Is it a boat? Absolutely could be a boat. Boats aren't made of stuff where a magnet would attach to it. No one at camp could know what we're doing. Everybody's phone needs to be turned off. The last thing we want to do is cause alarm to the family or alarm local law enforcement. If it's a car and it's not the car we're looking for, he wants to be able to do it peacefully and not cause turmoil. If people find out they found a car at that point, it would be unnecessary trauma for the family. We need to go back to the ramp and cause as little, like we found nothing, that's all right? So these guys Doug is groaning. If this is her, this means all hope is lost. As far as her still being out there, Nick says right. As far as her being found safe, this is devastating. This is as devastating as it gets. It's different when we find someone who's been missing for 20 or 30 years. This is a child, 16 years, same age as Doug's daughter. Literally, the campground is right over the hill. This car is 3/10 of a mile from the campground she was at. You can tell. So they put a little like red balloon buoy thingy, whatever, to mark the location. They go back to shore and they're getting suited up and they're going to head back out there. They wanted their phone off. You could tell it was 12:16. When one of the guys turned his phone off, it was 12:16 p.m. So you can see how the time is progressing, but when they notify Kiely's family, I don't think we're going to get timestamps there. So we have some of the timestamps. We can kind of tell a timeline here. And you see them checking their tanks and the dive equipment. You see Nick getting suited up in that black scuba suit and the hood over his face. You see chains and supplies and he's buckling up and he's got his tank on and he's closing the door, gearing up for what he knows he's about to find, and it's a really heavy moment. This is absolutely a crime scene. It's an active investigation. Our job is to be here to find the where, which we have done. Now we need to give a full assessment, condition of the vehicle, windows up or down. Don't remove the license plate like we normally do. Copy that. Nick says, I'm going to start my descent. They're taking us underwater. Sections of the scene are blurred to hide sensitive images, and viewer discretion is advised. And it's pretty haunting to see Kiely's car, Kiely's SUV, topsy-turvy. Confirm. I see the vehicle and the license plate. We have just found Kiely's vehicle. Over, he says. And you start to see the license plate. Doug says do a methodical, slow, full assessment. Focus on the vehicle so we can accurately relay that information to the authorities. The vehicle's upside down. Upside down, you see July. You see the little sticker of the Ram. He's going over towards the driver's side window. Loud and clear from the guy up top. I'm approaching the driver's side window, Nick says, trying to get a look inside. And you just hear his breathing apparatus rasping periodically. You just see the car and you see the bottom of the reservoir and you just see it upside down. And from this point, even though he's at the driver's side window, it does not look broken. And you see the steering wheel. So that's kind of odd. At that point, the driver's side window does not look broken. He says at first, I cannot positively identify anybody inside. I'm looking at the back window, but you do see that back window partially down. And you keep hearing the breathing apparatus. You see fish down there. It's kind of hard to see what we're looking at certain points. The fish are in the car too, so that's why. I see a pair of shoes in the back. I'm moving my way towards the back window. 10-4, I read you loud and clear. You see his glove. You see the back window because you can see the lines like the antenna lines on the window of the CRV. You see bubbles, you see fish. I have just confirmed, Nick says, there are human remains in the vehicle. Over. 10-4, Doug says. Now at this point you can see Nick's glove. You do see a can of Truly. Passenger window is broken out, it appears. So that's the passenger front window was broken out. So the rear driver's side window is halfway down, Nick says. Rear driver's side window is down. So that's interesting. I'll find the line and return topside. So it wasn't the driver's window at that point, apparently, that was broken out. It was the passenger's front window that was broken out. It's hard to tell because things are flipped upside down. Nick surfaces and he's breathing very heavily. Doug says, that's what we do it for, brother. You know, good job, good job. It's positive, you know, all right. Nick exhales sharply and he's sniffling and he says, she's in the back of the vehicle. Doug says, okay. She's not in the driver's seat, Nick says. It looks suspicious to me. Doug says, yeah, okay. Vehicle's upside down. One window is halfway down. One window is all the way down. Nick exhales again. Call the authorities, he says. Doug says, we help families all across the nation, and when we find out, they are notified first, so we are going to notify them first. The very next call will be the authorities. Now, this first call is to Lori from Doug with Adventures with Purpose. I don't know what time it is, but she is Kiely's aunt. We've just found Kiely, he tells her, and Lori, she repeats, we just found Kiely. Doug says, no one knows. My entire team has gone dark. You're my only contact, Doug says. Please let them know. And Lori says, I won't say anything. She seems just verklempt. And she said, this is Douglas from Adventures with Purpose. She's speaking with someone. She's speaking with someone else. And she's asking, where'd you find her? Doug is saying, we found her in Prosser Creek Reservoir. Lori is speaking with someone else in her presence, apparently, and she's going to ask, it sounds like Lori says, should we call somebody right now? So Lori is asking who to call. But this point proves that Adventures with Purpose is notifying the family. Now, we don't have a timestamp to know when the Facebook post was posted saying we found Kiely and how soon it was after or before this call was made. I'm going to assume the post happened after these initial calls to Kiely's aunt and grandmother, but we don't have timestamps. But I trust that the family was notified, and that's who Doug had as a contact. I'm not sure if Lori or the grandmother couldn't get in contact with Lindsay right away, but somewhere there was a miscommunication. And Doug is saying he's 300 yards away from the campground. Lori is really upset. Someone asked, was Kiely in a car? Doug is saying, I'm very sorry. This isn't what I wanted to come here and do, but at least it's the answers that you guys need. And Lori is asking, is there any way you can tell if it's foul play or anything? And Doug is saying, no, ma'am. They just confirmed that her vehicle is there. He doesn't know what else to say except that I'm sorry, and I hope in some horrible way this is over and this is the answer for you guys now. So the next call will be to Kiely's grandmother. I haven't confirmed if this is her maternal or paternal relatives. The next phone call is to Sally, Kiely's grandma. And Doug says, I'm not doing good because I just found Kiely in her vehicle. Sally says, oh, you did. And she asks, where? And he says, Prosser Creek, a couple hundred yards from the campground. They're showing the overhead shots. And Sally says, I appreciate what you've done for us so much. I know it's not the answer we were hoping for, obviously, but at least her family will have some closure. And she's very upset, as you could imagine a grandma would be hearing that news. Now here comes Daniel Rodni. Here comes Daniel Rodni, Kiely's dad. It looks like he's pulling up on an ATV, so he's coming pretty quickly, I guess. And Daniel is saying, right there where that balloon is, that red thing is, like, that's where my daughter is. Daniel says, how in the F could they have missed it? That's effing impossible. So Daniel Rodni, of course he's upset. Doug is saying, this is just what we do. We find vehicles underwater. We specialize in it. Daniel says, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Doug. I don't know what you guys know, Doug says. We don't always know the why. We just try to find the where. And so I can't relate with whatever you're speaking on right now. David is also there, who is Kiely's grandpa, and someone is blurred out. And Doug is explaining how vehicles are usually upside down because the wheels are buoyant. And David is asking, the windows are closed probably? All the windows except for one. Yes, one's halfway down. Which one? One's all the way down. So Nick is my diver, Doug says. There's a lot of questions coming at them. Driver rear was down, and the passenger rear was halfway. Now, I didn't see, this is where the confusion comes, because driver rear was down and passenger, I thought the passenger front window was the shattered one, and they're just talking about the passenger rear. Is she seatbelted in? No. So that's one thing for all of the people saying, is she seatbelted in? He says no. Is she in the driver's seat? No. So she was not in the driver's seat, seatbelted in. Some people have assumed she was in the back, seatbelted in. Now, he did not say that. He did not say that in this video. This was not said in this video. I don't think Kiely was seatbelted in anywhere. According to these questions being asked and answered, she is not in the driver's seat. No. There's a lot of cursing. Is she in the back? Yes. I would recommend, Doug says, get out of here. It's your daughter. Do what you want to do. Daniel says, sadly, I can't see this. Can't, dude. I can't. This. I can't see this. That's going to be my last memory. I can't effing do this. Doug says, I would recommend this is not a part of what you want to see, basically. Daniel drives away in his ATV, and wow. And Doug is introducing himself to Corey. Corey is a detective with the Nevada County Sheriff's Office. So I don't know if this is happening real time, and you know how edited footage can have a different audio or what have you. Daniel is driving away in his all-terrain vehicle while you hear the detective saying, I want to be able to confirm everything. They're showing him the buoy. 14 feet under the buoy is Kiely's vehicle. My diver was able to identify her, and then you hear all this other chatter. You hear the news overlay, another report. The team says they found Kiely. They've notified family. Placer County Sheriff's Office will now be taking over the investigation. As of this recording, I believe Nevada County is the lead. Going over all the other known facts about Kiely last texting her mom, and they're showing a really slow video of when the CRV had to be pulled out, and they're showing those things where they were hiding and bringing a blue tarp, and they're divers, and AWP is getting this footage from a bit farther away, because at that point, I believe they were told to move out, and you have to get out of there. I understand why Adventures with Purpose did things the way they did them. It looks like from that vantage point, both windows in the front are broken out. When Nick first dove down, apparently it must have just been the passenger's side window broken out in the front. But when this car has been flipped and pulled out by authorities, at this point it looks like both windows are broken in the front. So one of them appears to have already been broken. We don't know how. Front window, passenger side, as if someone had potentially escaped. Driver's window still intact when Nick dove down there and found the vehicle. And they do a beautiful tribute at the end, showing a gallery of Kiely's photos. And they show her mom speaking again to the news, all of her pleas to just, please Kiely, come home. I want nothing more to hug you. Let's bring them all home. Adventures with Purpose is an underwater sonar search and recovery dive team dedicated to helping families of missing loved ones. Because of your amazing support, 24 missing person cold cases have been solved as of this video. So your support through watching our documentaries, purchasing merchandise, and donating make it possible for us to provide this service free to families and law enforcement. And it says, created by Jarek Lisek, I believe is how you pronounce his name, featuring Doug Bishop, Nick Wren. They give you the videography by Josh Cantu, Devin Carroll, and Carson McMaster. Edited by Cade Pig and Carson McMaster. And executive producer Carson McMaster. That's the end of the video. This device could save your life. They show that device where you can break out your windows. So this leaves you with a lot of questions. The fact that Nick, the roadside guy, helped Kiely. She couldn't get her vehicle started. It was in neutral. There was a guy there in a snapback baseball cap who seemed to make Kiely uncomfortable. So I don't know who this guy was. So that's when they searched Boca. But the main thing I'm wondering about is that weird behavior between Kiely and a girl named Blank minutes before the party ended. And we see some timestamps and we see these windows. We see the can of Truly, which is a hard seltzer type of drink. They call it a refreshing alternative to beer, wine, and cocktails. But I think there would be a lot stronger things than Truly. There would be a lot stronger things than Truly, perhaps ingested that night. It looks like a MacBook charger, and it might be Kiely's MacBook right there. It might be Kiely's MacBook right there. We see some type of brush. The main thing you see is that Kiely's family was notified. Certain times when Adventures with Purpose does this, it's a cold case. The families are right there with them. And sometimes the families are like, oh, law enforcement has not helped us, or you should watch some of their old videos. It's amazing the way certain sheriffs have treated the families of loved ones or what have you. So when Adventures with Purpose shows up, a lot of times the families are right there like, oh my God, thank God you came. And these guys, from what I've seen, are always so compassionate. They are hugging moms. Moms are crying on their shoulders. They are so grateful that their loved one was found. Well, in this instance, I don't know what happened, but they found Kiely, obviously. We know that happened. We can see certain timestamps. We know the Facebook post went out. I'm going to assume in the interim, that's when Lori was notified, Kiely's aunt, and Sally, Kiely's grandma, was notified. We see Daniel Rodni there at some point being notified. I think he was there maybe even before that Nevada County Sheriff showed up, but I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell exactly the times of everything. And we see Kiely's grandpa there. Now, I'm not sure which of those family members attempted to call Lindsay, Kiely's mom, but now I see why the confusion came out. I see why Sammy Smith was saying, oh, this Facebook post isn't true. They didn't find Kiely because they didn't alert her. They didn't tell Kiely's mom. So obviously Sammy and Kiely's mom were speaking to one another. According to Steve Fisher, the PI, Kiely's mom, Lindsay, was in a sushi restaurant when someone read the Adventures with Purpose Facebook post and informed her they had found Kiely. It is a sad way to find out. I mean, that news would be sad no matter who told you, but the waitress, the server, apparently told Lindsay they found Kiely. Now, I'm not sure why Adventures with Purpose only had contact information for certain members of Kiely's family. They must not have had Lindsay's number directly, I'm assuming, or that's the contact they had, Lori and Sally, and that's who they called. I'm not sure where the ball was dropped, but it's sad. Before we read Lindsay's Facebook post, which I do believe was from her, let's just read Psalm 95, 6 through 7. Come, let us bow down and worship. Let us kneel before the Lord our Maker, for he is our God, and we are the people of his pasture the flock under his care. Today, only if you would hear his voice, and the rest goes on to say, do not harden your heart. Now, I'm going to read you this Facebook post that got a ton of attention, and I'm going to tell you the reasons why I believe it's real. Some people don't, and they very well could be correct. Maybe someone unfortunately created some fake Facebook post under Lindsay's name. It has her previous profile photo. Her name is spelled correctly. It has her previous profile photo. The Handmaid's Tale images, which we've seen on Lindsay's Facebook profile before, she now has a picture of train tracks on there. This post was sent to a Facebook administrator of a group, one of the groups for Kiely, and that Facebook administrator wrote, okay, let me try this again. They have it set to only friends seeing this post. So therefore, unless you are a friend, you cannot see it. That's why the person has circled the little photo of two people, because Lindsay really did share this. She shared it with her Facebook friends. That's the icon that shows up. And of course, it can be faked. I'll tell you why I think it's real. The Facebook administrator did admit, I have not seen this post with my own eyes, but we are discussing. So she goes back and says, I just checked. And yes, this person has tagged mom in several posts before. And she also wrote, yes, an anonymous member posted, but we know who the posters are because we are admins. So I checked this person's profile and they are friends with the mom on Facebook. So certain people are saying, oh, Lindsay couldn't have posted this, because they're popping over to Lindsay's Facebook and saying, wait a minute, this isn't in her, I don't see this post on her Facebook profile, and that's it must be fake. Well, no, if it were shared to friends only instead of public, we wouldn't see it unless we were friends with Lindsay. But Lindsay's post, being attributed to her, and it could be fake again, says, let it be known that Adventures with Purpose has not contacted me or Tony a single time throughout this ordeal. So Tony is her partner or her husband now, Kiely's stepdad. I'm not sure if they're married or not. I don't know why they would have Daniel's contact info. That's Kiely's biological dad. I don't know why they would have all that contact info and not have Lindsay and Tony's info, but who knows. So she's saying, AWP has not contacted me or Tony a single time throughout this ordeal. Not to offer condolences, not when the car was discovered, not once. I'm so tired of hearing how wonderful they are when all they have done is make a spectacle out of my daughter's death on their quest to make themselves heroes. They are not and will never be my hero. This is meant to be our story, not theirs. Please do not give them the pen or allow them authorship. Some folks are saying, oh, it couldn't be that. I couldn't be her because the text is bold. I'm going to tell you, and they're saying, oh, you can't make a text bold on your personal Facebook page. I'm going to tell you, on my iPhone, I make my text bold for everything, and it looks similar to what I see on my iPhone. There's an option where you can bold everything. That's what I do. So to me, that negates that argument. Tone of it sounds like Lindsay to me in terms of what she has said elsewhere. We know she's an intelligent woman, and it sounds eloquent, and it sounds like something she could write, just in her grief and anger. And I have been through grief recovery classes. I've been nowhere near experienced the type of grief this family is experiencing now. Heaven help them. But I believe it could be Lindsay lashing out. She could just be hurt. You know, the saying, don't kill the messenger. And maybe she doesn't agree with, like some people don't agree with, true crime, YouTubers, and all of that. Another reason I think it's Lindsay, because she has immediately changed her profile photo and everything. I wish the person who screenshot this, understand why they did it. They did not probably want Lindsay to know. As one of her Facebook friends, they screenshot this post, but they did. I wish it could have been screen recorded where a person can click through and literally see that it came from her. If it did come from her, it's sad. I'm a big supporter of AWP, obviously, but I think a lot of people can forgive a grieving mother for just lashing out because she didn't want to hear this news. And I think everything that's coming out about it, Kiely's potential state of mind, what have you, no parent would want to know that their daughter may have been in trouble, that she may have been using substances, that of course anyone would want to think of their daughter as the kind, smart, beautiful daughter she was. And of course some people have been coming so harshly against Kiely's mom from the beginning, just wrongly. How could you let a 16-year-old do this? And how could you do that? And why did you fall asleep? And Lindsay was already taking it upon herself, the fault, calling herself a bad mother, which again, no one wanted this to happen. It's very sad. I hope she really isn't lashing out at Adventures with Purpose because they are the ones that found her daughter. That's why I believe they did it in the sequence in which they did it. They did it in the sequence that they did. They searched and searched. They found Kiely. Despite what they were told about maybe just don't even worry about Prosser, it's been searched, they found her. They notified 2 family members we saw on camera. They posted it on Facebook. And I don't blame them for doing that because of all the shadiness surrounding this case. If they had not done it that way, I don't know who would have tried to discredit them or taken credit for it, but the proof is in the pudding. I feel so sad for Kiely's family, and I hope they're able to just remember her and celebrate her, and this could be a real true crime investigation when the details about whatever happened at that party between Kiely and some girl comes out. Is it like a Ted Kennedy situation where he was driving inebriated and he made it out of the water and the young lady who was with him didn't? This could be a situation like that where someone else was with Kiely and they were able to escape out of the CRV and she couldn't. It could be completely innocent. There might have been some type of altercation and maybe just Kiely got in her car trying to drive away from there really fast and then drove herself into Prosser Creek. We must still wait. If it is foul play, I believe we will get more details about toxicology and everything. Despite people saying stuff like, we're not owed answers and we're not this and we're not that, we do follow the law in the United States, and there are laws governing what can be released based on what type of case this turns out to be. So again, go on over to AWP, become a member, watch their videos. They're doing great work in my opinion. God bless them all. God help Kiely's family and loved ones. We'll see what happens, but thank you so much for watching, as always.